Hello everyone. This video is about introductory paragraph. It's easy as your ABCs. So the objective is really for you to review how to write your introductory paragraph so that you capture the audience's attention and adequately introduce the topic to your readers. Remember your ABCs. A equals attention grabber or the hook. Should be 1 to 2 sentences at the beginning. The B is the background information, 4 to 6 sentences. And C is your claim statement. I'm going to do a little modeling with a student's work from the DBQ number 1, early Jamestown, could the tragedy been prevented? Attention grabber. Is there a quote that you can help you introduce the essay and grab the reader's attention? So after you've researched with your primary and secondary sources, is there a quote that you could use? You don't have to use something from your evidence. It could be something from a different time period, but it has to be relative to your topic. Must be relevant to your topic. Is there a surprising or interesting fact that you can use? Could you use an anecdote, a short, it's usually not amusing in history, but a short and interesting story about a real incident in person. Those are attention grabbers. Here's a student example. Early Jamestown, Virginia was a death trap. In only 4 years, 80% or more of the 500 settlers that arrived had died. How could this have happened? The early settlement of Jamestown started during the spring of 1607 when 3 English ships with over 100 passengers sailed into the Chesapeake Bay and up the James River. The colonists constructed a fort on James Island, which would ultimately be Jamestown. However, by the middle of the winter, over half of the original colonists were dead. The next few years also proved to be quite difficult, with extensive casualties from disease, starvation, and war with the Native Americans. Tragedy at Jamestown could have been prevented if the colonists could have made friends with the local inhabitants, taken more cautious procedures to store food and water, and made a more productive effort to survive. So this was a student from my previous years that wrote this introduction. And I'm going to look, does this student have a hook when I kind of go through it and grade it? And I said, yes, I feel like they did have a hook. Early Jamestown, Virginia was a death trap. Kind of grabs my attention. Death trap. In only 4 years, 80% of more than 500 settlers that arrived had died. It's a great fact that kind of hooks me in. 80% of people died out of 500 people. And then they put, how could this happen? Great hook. This was about 3 paragraphs, but the first 2 are really what kind of hooked me in or grabbed my attention. So I would say this student did a great job with their hook. If you want, you can turn off your computer this video right now, and you can look to see if you have a hook and highlight it. If you don't, that's okay too, because there's always revisions, and we'll do that later. Next one is background information, or placing that topic in context for the readers. Got to make sure that the reader understands the where, the why, the what, the who, and the when of your topic. When did it take place? Who was involved? Where did it take place? Why did this topic take place? What makes it so important in history? And then, what is it? What exactly is it? So the DBQ, what we're doing is early Jamestown. We need to kind of say, who's involved in early Jamestown? When did it take place? Where did it take place? What caused early Jamestown to actually happen? And then kind of explain a little bit about it. So let's see if this student did. Then after the hook, they put the early settlement of Jamestown started during the spring of 1607. So yeah, they kind of put the when this took place. All right. When 3 English ships with over 100 passengers sailed into Chesapeake Bay and up the James River. Here is the where. I'd like them to place a little bit that this was, the area or the water within Virginia. But they did say in the beginning, early Jamestown, Virginia. So it kind of gave you the where. Now I understand kind of where this took place. The colonists constructed a fort on James Island, which ultimately became Jamestown. So that kind of gives the where, kind of gives what it is, what they did. It also tells us who did it. The colonists did. They're English ships with 100 passengers. They called them colonists. That's the who. However, by the middle of the winter, over half of the original colonists had died. The next few years also proved to be quite difficult with extensive casualties from disease, starvation, and war. So let's go through this. The Who, we kind of understand this. This was English passengers. Uh, they called them colonists. This person explained the when it happened, the where it happened. They explained what happened. You know what? They're sailing into Chesapeake Bay and James River. I'd like to say a little bit more of, on the North American continent in kind of give it a little bit more of a relative location so that we understand it even better. They constructed a fort. All of that is the what. So they did a nice job with that. The only thing that I don't see here is why these people actually went to Jamestown. I think that would make it a richer background information. Why did they leave in English ships? What made them come to the Chesapeake Bay? Which again, I would want to know a little bit more about the Chesapeake Bay and James River. Where was this? Is it in England? Is it in Africa? Which continent is it on? Or give me a relative location a little bit more. Please pretend that your audience knows nothing of this. So you want to give more of that. But they did do a nice job. That would be the only suggestion that I have as far as placing it into context. Next thing is the claim statement. You're taking all of that evidence and you're answering the question. Based on the evidence that you found, what is the answer to that DBQ question? Could the tragedy been prevented? So you turn the question around, then you look over the evidence again and you find general reasons so that you can elaborate more into paragraphs to back up that answer. Let's go back. This student did it nicely. The student stated, they claimed the tragedy at Jamestown could have been prevented. So they answered that question. And then they gave reasons, probably based on the evidence that they've collected. This person said, if the colonists could have made friends with the local inhabitants, then it could have been prevented. Or they'd taken more cautious procedures to store the food and water, it could have been prevented. And made more productive effort to survive. There's 3 reasons. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read more into this essay, and I'm hoping that they take those 3 reasons and they really go into detail about it, providing evidence that they have collected in order to prove those reasons that this is. So they do have a nice claim statement. You can stop and look at your claim statement. Did you do the same? Okay, the task here is, you might have already done this, stopping this along the way. Highlight your ABCs in your introduction and then revise it if you did not include all of them. So please take the time now. You have another 10 minutes or so to look at your introduction and to revise it, making sure all appropriate components are evident in that paragraph so that when I go through and grade it, or Mr. Miller does, we know that you have all 3 of those things. Okay.